it's me. My name is John, and I am a nobody. Just as a reminder, it's nobodies that make the world go round, not racing car drivers or football players. So, I'm going to mention a few things that you might know already. One is about trust. Either you have it or you don't have it. It's a bit like, well, virginity or sovereignty. Either you have it or you don't have it. End of story. So I once found myself rummaging through the jeans of my best friend. He was asleep in bed. When you're in love, crazily in love, you do crazy things. And I was so desperate to see this woman that I was rummaging through his jeans, the jeans of my best friend, to steal from him. You can't get any lower than that. Stealing from your best friend. It doesn't go down any further than that. And if there were one thing I could change in my life, it would be to change that moment. Not that he was a trustworthy person, because he wasn't. But thanks to him, and thanks to me, we had 2 record contracts. The first one went sour when I lost trust in him, and he started a relationship with another woman. He was married. Now, you don't get married to, mess around. That's not the point of getting married. And the second time was, we had a small record deal for a single with a company from Scandinavia, from Denmark. And I didn't trust him somehow, because I had the feeling he was running illicit substances, and his modus operandi was to have somebody in the car who was completely naive. Perfect. And I was proved right, because he went to jail twice. And the second time he got arrested, he had his wife and child in the car, his small child. He was looking for somebody who would be innocent and naive, like I was. Anyway, it's important, that word trust. I used to be very close to a friend of mine whose son had sadly died of narcotics abuse. And I was terrified that he would ask me how his son had died. And I would have told him the truth, because he expected that of me. He actually gave me a straw to grasp. He said, well, maybe it was the smoking that killed him. And I had to remind him that it was not the smoking that killed him. He never even inhaled. He was like Pablo Picasso, who lived to be into his 90s. You normally see a photo of Picasso with a cigarette, but Picasso didn't inhale either. So that was not the reason. So I never actually told him, and luckily he never actually asked, because he knew I would tell the truth, and maybe he knew already. It's a weird thing, that trust thing, Either you've got it or you don't have it. As I said, it's like sovereignty or virginity. Either you have it or you don't. And it stood me in good stead when I was working in a dementia care home, because people knew that, or a couple of them knew, that I would never lie to them. There was one man who used to come up to me every time he saw me, and he'd say, why doesn't my wife come and visit me? She did, every day. She was a lovely woman. And I would bring them tea and biscuits, and a couple of hours later he'd say, why doesn't my wife come in and visit me? I'd explain to him that she did come in. It's just that he couldn't remember, because he was suffering from dementia. And then I would have to explain the whole dementia thing and the memory loss thing to him every day, because by the next day he would have forgotten it. And we got to the stage where, yeah, it was becoming repetitive, but that's okay, you know, that was part of the job. We had another lovely couple come in. Well, the woman was lovely. And I'd wash her husband in the morning and help him on the lavatory, or as our American friends say, in the bathroom, though there's no bath in the bathroom. And I showed them to their room when they came in, and it was a nice room. And she said to me one day, I'll never forget it because it was a classic. She said to me one day, look, don't take this personal, but you know, you're doing a good job, but I have to say, this is the worst hotel we've ever stayed in. The worst hotel. I didn't know if to laugh or cry, so I did neither. Anyway, she came up to me one day because her husband had sadly passed away during the night, and some of the carers had told her that he was in the hospital because was for them, it was a stress-free answer, just passing the buck. But she knew I would be honest with her, so I told her that he'd sadly passed away. And then I changed the subject, which is what we're trained to do as carers. And I said, yeah, but your son is coming in later on today. He can explain some of the things to you. He's a lovely guy, isn't he? And she perked up at that, and we started talking about her son. And that did the trick. She was more or less fine after that. She knew the facts. She knew what was going on. She knew her son was coming in and was looking forward to it. And that's the way some things sometimes are. You have to trust somebody. Somebody. There has to be somebody in your life that you trust. And, well, she trusted me, so that was fine. Take care of yourself and those you love. And I hope to see you in the next one. Give this one a thumbs up if you liked it. Doesn't cost anything. And take care. All the very best, as always. Tschüssikowski.